I am Dr. Pavitra Bharadwaj. I am Associate Professor in the Department of Computer Science, Jesus and Mary College, University of Delhi. So friends, keeping that you all are regularly following the content which is being delivered to you through CEC live lectures and the YouTube channel, we are continuing with our lecture series on web programming today in this lecture as well. So as you know, we are talking about the front end web development in this particular series. That is, we are trying to create very interesting, very interactive and very dynamic websites using different tools and techniques which are offered by a basic web designing tool that is HTML. Now, it is very vital to understand that if you have to start your career, or if you have to start the domain knowledge in web programming, HTML is the first step. Even though nowadays there are many tools which gives us hands-on and ready to use gadgets and different types of interfaces and APIs which we can use and design web pages, but it is very important that behind all that we have a fundamental knowledge base and we know how things are being created. So HTML therefore is the first step, and and any web developer should not miss that first step and start using the tool. So you can only use the tools very effectively and efficiently if you know the basic behind those tools, and you can also make the best use of then you can make the best use of the available tools to you. So in continuation with this discussion, as we were talking about frames, so today's lecture we are going to talk further about how we can use a single web page or a single space to show more than one web page at the same time. So for that we can divide the screen, or we can divide the entire area into frames. Now frames are nothing but they are containers that we are creating, and each frame is going to hold one web page in itself. So therefore we had discussed in the the last lecture of this series also, that when you have a frame tag, or when you have a frame set tag for that matter, then you will not put any body element in your page, because the page in which you are defining the frames, it's not a web page, it is only acting like a container for other web pages. So frames they will divide the browser window into section, and each section we can use for a separate HTML document, right? And we use two types of tags basically to define frames in a page or in a browser window. So we can create the frames using two tags. First is the frame set tag and the next is the frame tag. So frame set tag of course is a container tag, that is you need to close it. The frame tag generally is not a container tag and it is not closed by convention. And then there is one more tag called the no frame tag. So we will discuss the role of the no frame tag later on, but first we need to understand what is the frame set and frames. So we are taking it up from the previous lecture only. So here we know that we are dividing the entire browser screen into two or more than two parts. So here you can see that we have divided the browser screen into three sections, and each section is holding a different HTML document. So first is having a.html, b.html and c.html. So these are the three different files which we have loaded into this. Okay. So now we also discussed that frames can be defined row wise or column wise, right? So we know that you can define frame in the frame set tag itself, you define whether you want it row wise or column wise, and there are different ways in which you can bifurcate, or you can actually distribute the entire area. So you can distribute it depending on percentage. Okay, you can distribute it depending on the pixels, defining the pixels, and you can also distribute it using generic tools like the star representation. So if you say that frame set rows is equal to star comma star comma star, it means that 3 equal rows will be created on the frame set. And we had also discussed a few more attributes of the frames, like how you can define the margins of the frame, how you can control whether the user is able to resize the frame or not, Then we had discussed whether the user is able to, whether the scroll bars will appear or not, that is you can control the appearance of the scroll bars, etc. Now we need to understand a very important architecture of the frames that we had used. So this example makes it more clear. So for example, we have created these frames, 2 frames are created here, these are columnar frames, and we have in the first frame we have a menu, and in the menu we have links, we have 5 or 6 links, and when you click on the linked file will open on the adjacent frame. Right. So this is an application which we see very commonly, like for example you all must have seen in Wikipedia. So in Wikipedia also you have this kind of a structure where you see in one of the frames you see the links, and in the other frame on the same page you will see the linked file. So this gives a very interesting and it gives a very user friendly approach, because the user can directly go back and forth, there is no need to go back and forth. The links as well as the linked content appears on the same, at the same time, the user can see both these. So we will see how this kind of an application can be developed, and we consider this as linking between the frames, that is 2 frames are linked to each other. We have created these 2 frames and these frames are now linked to each other. Right. So for this we have understood that frames, when you define links, okay. So the links can, what is a link? Basically a hyperlink is something you will click on that and the linked file will open. When the link or when a hyperlink is in a frame, then you can display the links in different forms, that is the linked file can open in different locations. So it can open in a different frame, it can open in a new window, or it can open in the same window but it can cover the entire. So we can actually we can control the behavior of the links when you are having a framed page, right. So how we can do this? For this we need 2 things. First is that we need to give the name to every frame, right. So every frame should have a name, and then the hyperlink has to be linked or hyperlink has to be pointed to that particular frame in which we want the frame to open, right. So therefore how do you assign a name to the frame? By simply giving the name attribute, right. So we say frame src is equal to URL. So this is the source, is the it's the path and name of the file which you want to open in this frame, and you give this frame a name. Say for example we are giving this frame a name, frame 1. So then this frame will be identified as frame 1, okay. So you can see the same setting is shown here again, that we have these 2 frames and we are naming both the frames. Please remember we are going to name both the frames, maybe you can name them as frame 1 and frame 2, okay. So we create a structure like this, and then the first file which we are seeing there, which has got the link. So we know that the ahref tag is used to create a link, and here with ahref we will give an attribute called the target attribute. So here what you are seeing, we are writing target is equal to textos. So textos is actually the name of the frame, the second frame in which we want the files to open. So what we are doing, we are creating a link chapter 1 or chapter 2, and when the user will click on chapter 1, the file b.html will open in the frame textos, okay. So you can see here these are the links that we have created. So whenever I will click on a link, the linked file will open in the adjacent frame, and the name of the adjacent frame is textos, okay. So likewise we define for all the hyperlinks. So remember we need to use the attribute target with the ahref in order to target or in order to point the linked file to a specific location, okay. So likewise we will create another frame also. So this is the frame set that we have created. So we have 2 columns here, and the first column is having a menu, okay, and the second column or the second frame is called the textos frame, and it is having 1 file. So this is the frame set that we have created with 2 columnar frames, and then we are using this kind of structure to target or to link the frames to each other, right. So target attribute has got, you know, several applications. It's very useful attribute because the target attribute will point the linked file to a specific frame as we have just seen. So if you write target and you give the name of the frame, then the targeted file will open in the particular frame. Okay, and when, you know, your page has got multiple links, then all the links should open in the same page, in the same frame, right. So HTML, it always provides a way to specify a target frame for all the hyperlinks within a single page. Now besides this also, you know, there are several reserved words which are used, and these reserved words will place the file or will place the linked file at a particular target, right. So when you don't have or when you don't know the name of the frame, right, in that case you can use the target, or when you want the page to appear in a new window, right, or when you want the page to appear, replace the current browser window. So we can control how the linked file is going to open, particularly when you are having the frame kind of architecture in your web page, right. So all the reserved target names that we will see, they always begin with an underscore character, so that we will know that these are reserved names and these are not the names of any other window or any other frame. So it always begins with an underscore and they are case sensitive. So you always have to put them in the lower case. So you can see here we can give these 4 types of target names. So these are underscore blank, so when you write target is equal to underscore blank, then your document will open in a new browser window, your linked file will open in a new browser window. Then you can give target is equal to underscore self. Underscore self means that the document will open in the frame which is containing the link. So the original file will be replaced by the linked file in the same frame, right. Then you can write target is equal to underscore parent. Now in this case the linked document will open in the parent of the frame which is containing the link in the higher left, and you can write target is equal to underscore top, then the document will be loaded into the full display area replacing the current frame layout. So your current frame layout will be gone and it will occupy the complete window. So by specifying these target names, that is underscore blank or underscore self, underscore parent or underscore top, you can very well control how your linked document is going to appear when your file is, when your web page or when your design is in a frame based layout, right. So this is an example of where the linked file will open. So it will either open in the self, that is it will replace the linked document and there it will open, okay, or it can open in the top level frame, or it can just replace the frame layout and the frame can open. So you can see here in this code snippet we are defining that where we are using the target to open. So we can specify target is equal to underscore blank, and in the next you can see we are writing target is equal to trio. So this is the difference. When we are having an underscore, it means that this is a reserved target. When we are not having an underscore, it means it is a user defined target, right. And then you can also write target is equal to underscore top. So this will reload the master frame set, as we said that the master frame set will go and it will come as a simple blank file. So this is about, how you can create frames, how you can load the documents into the frame, and how you can also link the contents of the two frames. But there are possibilities, that the user is viewing your document in a browser which does not support the frames, okay. So in such situations the tag that is used is the no frames tag. So this will allow the website to be viewable to those people also whose browser does not support the frame, right. So when the browser will support the frames, then it will process the frames code, okay, and it will simply ignore everything which is written in the no frame tags, and it will only look at the frame set tag. But if the browser is an older browser and it does not support the frame set tag, then it will show whatever is given in the no frame tag, right. So when your whatever you put in the no frame tag, then that must be included in the body, okay. So this way both types of browsers are supported within a single HTML file. So because we had discussed that when you use the frame set tag, you do not use the body, right, but when you are using the no frames, the no frame is included in the body tag. So that if the browser does not support the frame set, then it will look for a body element in the page and it will display whatever content has been shown in the no frame. So you can see here that in this case we have defined a frame set, okay, we have defined some frames in the frame set, and then we define a body in the no frames tag, and in this we define whatever we want to give the message that this document requires a frame capable browser, and then you close the no frames and then you close the frame set also. So actually the no frames tag will also be a part of your frame set only, and but it will only be read by the browser if it does not read the frame set tag. So like this we can make our website accessible to all types of browser. At least it will not lead to an embarrassing position where the viewer is trying to open the website, but the website is becoming non-responsive because of the issue of the frame set, right. Then we had discussed that frames, they can have borders, the frames can have margins. Likewise frames can also have border, and if you remove the borders from your frames, right, so you get some more space, right, for text and images. And also we can first is either we remove the borders completely. If you have a border attribute with the frame, which you can control the size of the border which is showing in the frame, or you can change the color and appearance of the border. Either way you can do it. So you remove the border from the frame, or we can change the color of the frame, right, so that it complements the color scheme of your website. So therefore borders in case of frames are also very important. If you remember, we had talked in detail about borders of tables. Now these are borders of frames. So if we actually remove the border of the frame, then the two web pages which you are showing, they will appear seamless, right. You will not see that line in between the two frames, and therefore the look of the page will become very interesting. And you can also change the border color of the frame. So this border color can be changed by using the attribute border color attribute, right. So what is the syntax for the attribute? The syntax for the attribute is border color, and you give the color that you want to specify, right. Now this can be given either to the frame set tag, or you can give it to the individual frame. If you want the two frames to be of different color, then you give it with the frame tag. If you want both the frames to have the same color, then you will give it with the frame set tag, right. And if you give the same border color, okay, to both the frames, then the look of the page becomes very consistent, it becomes very cleaner. But if you sort of give different border colors to the two different frames, that can also create a very good visual appeal. So it actually depends upon the preference of the web designer how the border color attribute can be applied, right. So it can also be applied to the nested frames that we had done. We had discussed in the previous lecture that one frame can have another frame set within it. So in that case also you can use the border color attribute. So it can be used for a single frame, it can be used for a frame set, or it can be used for the nested frame set, right. There are some border changes which are shown in some browsers, in some of the other browsers it may not be visible. So one has to check the different in different browsers and different versions of different browsers how the border colors are appearing, right? Then next is you can also control the size of the border around the page, around the frame, that is, right? So that can be done by giving the border attribute, and this border attribute is used only in the frame set tag. Border attribute cannot be used with the frame. You can use border color with the frame, but border is used only with the frame set. So the syntax is you write frame set and you write border and then you give the value. So this value is given in pixels. So pixels could be 5 pixels or 10 pixels. Generally we don't give a border of more than 5 to 8 pixel thickness, right? And if the designers, they do not want to show the borders, right, so that it appears just as I told you, it appears like a single web page rather than multiple sections and multiple controllers, then you can do that also, right? So the borders could be hidden also, and this can confuse the user sometime because they are navigating the website, right? So you can just simply write border is equal to 0 with the frame set. If you write border is equal to 0, then there will be no border which will appear between the frames, right? If you do not write border is equal to 0, by default borders are going to come. And you can also specify the width by giving border is equal to the number of pixels that you want as the thickness of the border, right? So both, I mean 3 ways it can work. You can have a default border, you can have a border of customized thickness, or you can just disappear the border, or you can just remove the border of the frame. But it is important to remember that the border will come only for the frame set tag. For the frames we do not define the border, it is only defined for frame set, right? Then another very important way, and very important change which is we see in HTML5 version is that we also see floating frames. Sometimes we see that one particular window will come and it is only going to be a part of the main window, right? The very important application is how you see the maps. On several web pages we see the Google map is shown, right, along with on the main page. So what is that actually? That is shown in an inline frame, or we also call it as floating frames, and commonly it is also called as iframe, right? So it is displayed as a separate box or window on the same page. So it's not fixed, it can be placed within a web page just like an inline image. So it is coming like an image on the page, but it is not an image, it is a frame. Why we are saying it is a frame? Because in this we can load any link or we can load any file, right? So we can have an iframe or an inline frame in our web page by using this syntax. So you will write iframes, again the same src, and you give the URL of whatever content you want, and you also give an alternate content that will be shown. So if your iframe is not getting loaded, then this alternate content will be shown. So URL, you specify the name and location of the file, and then you give the alternate content, that is if the URL is not loading in your page, then your alternate content can load, right? So alternate content will be for those browsers which do not support the inline frame. As I just told you that inline frame is a rather new addition. So certain browsers, if certain users are having an older version, they may not be supporting, the browsers may not be supporting the iframes, right? Now in addition to the the no frames and the no content or the alternate content that we are saying, we can also have other attributes which are used with fixed frames, such as margin height and margin width, and also the name attribute. So for inline frames also there are a number of attributes which can be shown, just like we are seeing here. So you can have the v-align attribute, because now we have, this is a floating frame, so you can position it wherever you want your frame to be on the screen, right? So it can be aligned vertically, it can be aligned horizontally like left, right and center, right? You can specify the border how thick or thin you want the border to be. You can specify the height and width of the frame, that is how big you want it. Then like in the main frame, in the ordinary frames we specify the margin height and the margin width. You can do that. So there is a margin around the border and the content, okay. And of course source and scrolling can be defined in case of iframes also, just like you do in the case of your regular frames, right. So iframe can be a very interesting, you know, addition to your web page, because it creates, you know, you can move that iframe anywhere, you can place it anywhere on the browser window without occupying or without, you know, sort of creating one fixed section for that frame. So friends, this was all about frames in this lecture today, and in the next lecture we will be taking up another interesting topic on HTML only. Till then, please keep watching CEC. Thank you.